It needs to be taller, Patricia had insisted during the cake tasting, her perfectly manicured nails drumming against the marble consultation table. Much taller. And the crystal stand. Will use mine. It's an Anderson family heirloom. Now, standing beside that towering confection of sugar and spite, I watched my new mother-in-law work the room at my wedding reception. Her channel suit was the exact shade of ivory as my dress. Coincidence, she claimed, though she demanded photos of my gown months ago. Just making sure we complement each other, darling, she cooed. After all, I'm losing my only son. More like losing control, I thought, catching her sharp glance as James, my new husband, wrapped his arm around my waist. Her only son, her perfect heir, now married to a new money architect who'd refused to quit her job and move into the Anderson family compound. Photos. The wedding planner's voice cut through my thoughts. Everyone gather around the cake. Patricia materialized at my elbow, glass of champagne in hand. Stand closer to the cake, dear. The lighting's better there. Something in her tone made me hesitate. In the 6 months since James had proposed, I'd learned to read the layers in Patricia Anderson's suggestions. They always came with strings attached or consequences for refusal. Mom, maybe we should wait until after the cutting. James started, but Patricia was already positioning me, her hand surprisingly firm on my shoulders. Nonsense. We need some candids. Barbara, dear, are you getting this? Barbara Wells, Patricia's best friend since college, stood ready with her phone. Something about her eager expression sent a warning tingle down my spine. Perfect spot. Patricia stepped back, assessing me with that same look she'd given the cake display. Now just turned slightly. Mrs. Anderson. A voice called from across the room, phone call from the governor's office. Patricia's head snapped around. Now? But they said it's urgent. About the charity gala next week. I saw the conflict play across her face, her need to maintain social power versus whatever she'd been planning with the cake photos. Social status 1. Don't move, dear, she patted my cheek. We'll finish these when I return. As she clicked away, Barbara Wells lowered her phone, frowning at the screen. Oh dear, she murmured. This isn't right. What's wrong? I asked. Nothing. She clutched her phone tighter. Just, Patricia will be so disappointed. The timing. Before I could question further, a commotion erupted near the entrance. Patricia's voice rose above the crowd, sharp with anger. What do you mean he's not available? Do you know who I am? The distraction drew everyone's attention, everyone except Barbara, who was still staring at her phone with growing distress. Barbara? I stepped closer. What's on your phone? I can't. She looked up, tears in her eyes. I thought it was just talk, party planning, social games. But this? She thrust the phone at me just as Patricia's voice cut through the room again. Don't let her see that phone. Too late. The group chat labeled wedding accident planning was already open on the screen. Patricia, everything set for cake time? Remember, it needs to look accidental. Barbara. Crystal stand position as discussed. Sharp edge at 45 degrees. Margaret, insurance agent confirmed coverage starts at midnight. Patricia. Perfect. One little push, one tragic slip. My hands shook as I scrolled up through months of messages. They planned everything. The cake's height, the stand's placement, even the exact spot where I should stand. The crystal edge was positioned at neck height. Give me that phone. Patricia was suddenly beside me, face flushed with rage, or champagne, or both. You were going to kill me, I whispered. At my own wedding. Don't be dramatic. She reached for the phone. It was just a little accident planning, to teach you your place. Your place, a new voice said, is about to be in handcuffs. We turned to find James's sister Rachel, an assistant district attorney, holding her own phone. I'd been recording this whole conversation, Pat, along with forwarding myself that entire group chat. Patricia's composure cracked. You wouldn't dare. The scandal would be nothing compared to a M charge. Rachel's voice was steel. Step away from my sister-in-law. But Patricia Anderson hadn't maintained her social queen status for 30 years by backing down easily. In one fluid motion, she grabbed my arm, spinning me toward the cake. If I can't have my son's life the way it should be, she hissed, then neither will you. She pushed. Hard. But I've been designing buildings for years. I knew about balance, about center of gravity, about the physics of force and momentum. As I fell, I twisted, grabbing Patricia's channel sleeve. We hit the cake together. $12,000 of pristine white fondant and hand-picked roses exploded around us. But more importantly, the crystal cake stand. The weapon she'd so carefully positioned crashed harmlessly to the side. In the chaos that followed, several things happened at once. Security detained Patricia, her perfect ivory suit now smeared with buttercream. Rachel called the police, reading the group chat messages with professional efficiency. Barbara Wells collapsed into a chair, confessing everything to the horrified wedding planner. And James, my sweet, oblivious husband, finally saw his mother for who she really was. "I'm so sorry," he kept saying, helping me up from the cake debris. "I never thought. I knew she was controlling, but this?" Attempted, Rachel supplied, still recording. Conspiracy, criminal intent. About 20 years worth of charges, conservatively. As the police arrived, Patricia managed one last theatrical performance. "I was just protecting my son. She's changing him, ruining everything I built." "The only thing ruined," I said, wiping cake from my face, "is your plan and your channel." They led her away, still ranting about family legacy and social position. Barbara Wells followed meekly, already bargaining to turn state's evidence. "Well," Rachel said, tucking away her phone, "this should make an interesting addition to my trial record." James pulled me close, ignoring the frosting staining his tuxedo. "I promise, no more family drama." I looked at the destroyed cake, the evidence being photographed, the shocked guests trying to process what they'd witnessed. "Somehow," I said, "I doubt that." The police station's interview room smelled of stale coffee and pine sol. I sat across from Detective Miranda Santos, still wearing my ruined wedding dress, while she scrolled through the group chat evidence. 8 months of detailed planning, she muttered, shaking her head. They even had a backup plan involving the champagne fountain. Of course they did. I wasn't even surprised anymore. Patricia Anderson doesn't believe in single options. Mrs. Wells is cooperating fully, Detective Santos continued. She's provided access to additional chats, emails, even voice recordings from their weekly tennis club meetings. She played one now. Patricia's voice, cool and collected, discussing my accident between sets. "The insurance policy is ironclad," Patricia was saying. "James will be devastated, of course, but Mother knows best. By Christmas, he'll be engaged to Margaret's daughter, Catherine, a proper Anderson match." "They were already planning my replacement," I said numbly. "There's more." Detective Santos slid across crime scene photos from other accidents at Anderson family events. "We're reopening 3 cases from the past decade, all involving women who married into the family's social circle against Patricia's wishes." The photos showed eerily similar scenarios: a broken balcony railing at a garden party, a suspicious car brake failure after a charity gala, a fatal allergic reaction at a country club luncheon. None of them were ever tied to Patricia. She's very good at maintaining her public image, but Mrs. Wells kept everything. Apparently she's been gathering evidence for years, too afraid to come forward until now. A soft knock interrupted us. James stood in the doorway, still in his cake-stained tuxedo, looking exhausted. "Rachel's with Mom now," he said, sitting beside me. She's confessing to everything. Everything. The other accidents, the bribes, the blackmail." He ran a hand through his hair. "God, Amanda, I knew she was controlling, but this, she had our entire lives planned. Our children's names, their schools, their future spouses, all mapped out in her diary." Detective Santos nodded. "We found the diary in her private study, along with files on every family member, business associate, and social connection. She tracked everything." "The perfect puppet master," I murmured. "Not anymore." James squeezed my hand. "Rachel's making sure she faces everything she's done." Another officer entered with a fresh report. "Mrs. Anderson's medical records just came in, 20 years of prescriptions for various personality disorders, all carefully hidden from public record. The Society Queen's perfect mask," Detective Santos observed. "What happens now?" I asked. Rachel appeared in the doorway. "Now we deal with the fallout. Patricia's already trying to spin this as a nervous breakdown, but the evidence is overwhelming. The Dawes office is treating this as a conspiracy case. The society pages will explode, James said. Let them. Rachel's smile was grimly satisfied. It's time the Anderson family secrets saw some sunlight. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with news alerts. Society matriarch arrested at son's wedding. Anderson family scandal. Attempted M by wedding cake. Country club conspiracy. Decades of suspicious accidents revealed. Your mother's friends are already distancing themselves, Rachel reported. Barbara Wells's confession opened the floodgates. Everyone's talking now. Detective Santos collected her files. We'll need you both to make formal statements. And Mrs. Anderson Hayes? She used my new married name deliberately. You might want to consider a restraining order. Already filed, Rachel produced the paperwork, along with orders for the entire wedding planning group chat. James looked at me. I'm so sorry you married into this mess. I married you, I corrected him. The mess is just temporary complications. Speaking of complications, Rachel checked her phone. The press is outside, ready to face them. I looked down at my cake-covered dress, then at James's ruined tuxedo. Might as well give them a good photo op. As we prepared to leave, Detective Santos handed me a final piece of evidence, Patricia's personal diary. You might want to read this, she said quietly. Know what you're really dealing with. The last entry was dated the morning of the wedding. She thinks she's won. They all do, these women who try to infiltrate our world. But an Anderson always prevails. Always. By midnight, James will be free of her influence and order will be restored. The cake stand is perfectly positioned. One push, one slip, one tragic accident, just like all the others. The Anderson legacy must be protected, no matter the cost. I closed the diary, feeling a chill despite the warm evening. She really thought she was protecting you, I told James. No, he said firmly. She was protecting her control. There's a difference. Outside, camera flashes erupted as we emerged. Reporters shouted questions. Mrs. Anderson Hayes, did you suspect your mother-in-law's plans? Mr. Anderson, how long has your mother been planning this? What about the other suspicious accidents? Rachel stepped forward, every inch the prosecutor. The Anderson family is cooperating fully with the investigation. No further comments at this time. As we drove away, I watched the police station recede in the mirror. Somewhere inside, Patricia Anderson was facing the consequences of her perfectly planned world falling apart. You know what's ironic? I said to James. She was so focused on preventing accidents that she caused her own downfall. No more accidents, he promised. No more perfect plans. I thought of the diary, of all those controlled lives and orchestrated fates. Just one more plan, I said. How we're going to build something better from all this. Rachel smiled from the front seat. Starting with a new wedding cake. Maybe cupcakes this time, I suggested. Much harder to use as a weapon. 6 months after the wedding cake incident, as the media dubbed it, I sat in a courtroom watching Patricia Anderson's perfect facade finally crack. The evidence was overwhelming. Decades of manipulated accidents, countless conspiracies, and a trail of destroyed lives. The defendant orchestrated not 3, but 7 suspicious deaths over 15 years, the prosecutor announced. Each victim shared one common trait. They threatened Mrs. Anderson's control over her social empire. Barbara Wells had turned state's evidence, bringing down the entire country club conspiracy. The society ladies who had once followed Patricia's every command now sat on the witness stand, detailing years of blackmail, threats, and carefully planned accidents. She made us complicit, Barbara testified, avoiding Patricia's icy glare. Each of us held a piece of her secrets. If one fell, we all fell. James squeezed my hand as his mother's former best friend described the wedding cake plot in detail. The crystal stand was specially modified, Barbara explained. Patricia had the edge sharpened and weighted. One push at the right angle. She shuddered. We thought it was just another social game. Until we saw the insurance policies. The prosecution presented evidence of Patricia's meticulous planning. Diagrams of the reception hall. Calculations of force and momentum. Even practice runs with a cake stand replica. The defendant didn't just want her daughter-in-law dead, the prosecutor concluded. She wanted it to be a spectacle, a warning to others who might challenge her authority. During a break, Rachel showed me new evidence they'd uncovered. A hidden room in Patricia's house filled with files on every family member, social connection, and potential threat to her control. She had plans within plans, Rachel explained. Backup schemes for every scenario. Except one. What was that? Someone fighting back. Patricia took the stand in her own defense, still playing the role of concerned mother protecting her family legacy. But her mask slipped when questioned about the other victims. They were destroying everything I built, she snapped. These social climbing opportunists infiltrating our world, diluting our bloodlines. Someone had to maintain standards. By arranging fatal accidents, by protecting what matters. Her composure shattered completely. Do you know how hard I worked to build this position? To maintain perfect control? These women, these nobodies, thought they could just marry in and change everything. The jury took less than 3 hours to reach a verdict, guilty on all counts. Patricia Anderson, the judge declared, you have been found guilty of attempted M, conspiracy to commit M, and multiple counts of homicide. I sentence you to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. As they led her away, Patricia turned to James one last time. Everything I did was for you, she insisted. For our family name. No, mother, James replied calmly. It was always for your control. And now you've lost that too. The aftermath transformed Boston's social landscape. The Anderson Family Foundation, now under James' direction, established a support network for victims of domestic conspiracy and social manipulation. We're turning Mother's Network into something positive, James explained at the launch event, using those same connections to protect people instead of harming them. I stood at the podium, addressing the families of Patricia's previous victims. We can't undo the past, I said. But we can build a different future, one where social status doesn't equal power over life and death. Barbara Wells approached me after the ceremony, looking years older than the polished society maven who had once helped plot my demise. I found more diaries, she said quietly, from the early years. There are other cases, other families. We'll investigate all of them, Rachel assured her. Every single one. Later that night, James and I stood in our new home, deliberately chosen far from the Anderson family compound. Mother's appeal was denied, he said, reading an email from Rachel. She'll serve her full sentence. How are you feeling about everything? He considered the question carefully, relieved, sad, angry, but mostly free. I understood. We were all free now, free from Patricia's schemes, from social expectations, from the weight of maintaining perfect appearances. You know, I'm used we never did have a proper wedding cake. James laughed. Maybe for our first anniversary. Something small, simple. Definitely no crystal stands. And no country club conspiracies. We had learned the hard way that perfect facades often hide the darkest secrets. But we'd also learned that sometimes it takes shattering that perfection to build something real. The society pages still whispered about the Anderson family scandal, but we'd stopped reading them. We were writing our own story now, one without carefully orchestrated accidents or perfectly planned fates. And if Patricia Anderson raged in her prison cell about legacy and control, well, that was one social event we wouldn't be attending.